For months, Sean Diddy Combs' legal team has been telling the world that their client is innocent, that there was no trafficking, no coercion, that everything was consensual between adults, and that the judge unfairly punished him for crimes the jury already rejected.
We are planning to appeal. We think we have strong bases to appeal. The strongest basis is that the jury reached a verdict on coercion. It found there was not coercion.
But now, never-before-seen footage has surfaced. Footage filmed by Diddy's own videographer in the days before his arrest. And what it shows is a man in full panic mode, scrambling to find people who deal in, and I quote, the dirtiest of dirty business.
So I'm going to get off the phone right now. Listen to me. I'm going to get off the phone right now, and I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution.
The dirtiest of dirty business. Professionals to look at the situation? That doesn't sound like an innocent man preparing his defense. That sounds like someone who knew exactly what was coming. Something ain't adding up, and we're about to break all of it down. Freshly leaked legal footage has added a disturbing new layer to the already explosive downfall of Sean Diddy Combs. Once untouchable at the top of hip-hop and global entertainment, the mogul who built an empire on influence, power, and perception is now serving time at Fort Dix Federal Correctional Institution in New Jersey. The footage captures Combs in a shockingly vulnerable position, offering a stark contrast to the larger-than-life figure who once dictated trends, hosted legendary parties, and moved comfortably among political and cultural elites. Its release has sent shockwaves through the industry, deepening the sense that this case is unlike anything modern celebrity culture has ever witnessed. Since his transfer to Fort Dix in late October 2025, Combs has reportedly struggled to adapt to federal prison life. Bureau of Prisons records indicate that on November 3, 2025, he violated prison regulations by making an unauthorized three-way phone call, an infraction considered a serious security breach. Federal inmates are only permitted to communicate with pre-approved individuals, and any attempt to loop in additional parties is strictly forbidden. That single violation reportedly resulted in disciplinary action and a 1-month extension of his sentence, pushing his projected release date to June 4, 2028. Another blow for a man already watching his legacy unravel in real time.
I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
Yes, you heard that correctly, and I need you to really let that sink in for a moment. President Donald Trump himself confirmed that Combs actually had the audacity to reach out and request a presidential pardon. In early January 2026, reports surfaced that Combs had personally written a letter to President Trump requesting clemency for his convictions. The two have a history dating back to New York's social scene in the 1990s and 2000s, when both men were fixtures of Manhattan high society, attending the same galas, the same parties, and running in the same circles. But that relationship apparently wasn't nearly enough to earn Combs any favors from the Oval Office. Trump confirmed in a New York Times interview on January 8, 2026, that he was not considering the request whatsoever, effectively slamming the door shut on any hopes Combs might have harbored for an early release. And here's where it gets really interesting. The reason Trump gave for denying the pardon wasn't about the victims or the severity of the crimes. It was entirely personal.
Not that you said nasty things about, that you've done things that hurt the country, or that there's a victim attached to what you did, or that it needs to be penalty of law, that you said things I didn't like.
As commentator D.L. Hewley so astutely pointed out in his razor-sharp analysis, Trump's rejection wasn't based on the crimes Combs committed or the victims who suffered at his hands, but rather on the fact that Diddy had said unflattering things about the president during his first election campaign. The transactional nature of that response speaks volumes about the current political climate we find ourselves navigating in this country, where personal grievances apparently take precedence over the actual substance of criminal convictions. But the pardon request is just one small piece of an increasingly desperate situation for the man who once commanded respect and fear throughout the entire entertainment industry. Combs has also sold his custom matte black Gulfstream G550 private jet, a symbol of his once lavish lifestyle that he maintained through his entity Love Air LLC. This wasn't just any aircraft. This was a custom matte black flying palace that served as a symbol of his extraordinary wealth and power for years. The aircraft, which reportedly generated around $4 million from 126 charter flights during his incarceration before the sale, was sold in what many industry observers believe to be part of a broader asset liquidation amid mounting legal fees, fines, and civil lawsuits that continue to pile up against him from every conceivable direction. Now let us turn our attention to the documentary that has absolutely everyone talking. The Netflix docuseries Sean Combs: The Reckoning was released in December 2025 and was executive produced by none other than Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Combs' longtime rival who has been absolutely relentless in his pursuit of exposing what he believes to be the truth about Assas. Former adversary. The documentary contains exclusive, never-before-seen clips of Combs, filmed in the days leading up to his September 2024 arrest, and the circumstances under which this footage was obtained are absolutely fascinating from a legal and ethical standpoint. The footage was shot with Combs' knowledge by his personal videographer, someone who was presumably trusted implicitly by the music mogul to document his life during those tumultuous final days of freedom. But here's where things get particularly interesting and take a rather ironic twist. This footage was legally obtained by 50 Cent after Combs' accounts were frozen, preventing payment to the videographer, who then turned around and sold the rights to the documentary producers. The very footage that Combs had commissioned to capture his story became the instrument of his public exposure. In one particularly revealing moment from that footage, we see Combs scrambling to manage the crisis that was closing in on him.
So I'm gonna get off the phone right now. Listen to me. I'm gonna get off the phone right now, and I am gonna let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution.
In another moment captured on film that has been analyzed and dissected countless times since the documentary's release, Combs makes an ominous admission. Sometimes you gotta go through the dark to get to the light. In hindsight, given the horrific allegations that have been leveled against him, that statement takes on an incredibly sinister tone that sends chills down your spine. The documentary portrays a raw, real Combs under immense pressure, adding crucial context to his mindset amid mounting scrutiny and lawsuits that were closing in on him from every conceivable direction. Combs' legal team has been fighting tooth and nail to prevent this documentary from seeing the light of day, pulling out every legal maneuver in the book. They sent a cease and desist to Netflix ahead of its release, calling it a shameful hit piece. But the streaming giant refused to back down, and the 4-part series was released as scheduled. The documentary's director, Alexandria Stapleton, stated that they lawfully obtained the footage and have the necessary rights to use it. When asked about potential legal blowback, 50 Cent's response was characteristically confident.
50 Cent did not appear worried about potential legal action from Combs.
Zero concern about that.
That confidence speaks volumes about the position of strength from which the documentary makers believe they're operating. But this leaked footage is just the beginning of what has become an avalanche of visual evidence that paints an increasingly disturbing picture of the man behind Bad Boy Records. The evidence presented during Sean Combs' federal trial was nothing short of devastating, and the leaked footage that emerged only served to compound the darkness that has enveloped this entire case like a suffocating blanket. During the trial, which began in May 2025 and concluded later that year after weeks of gut-wrenching testimony, jurors viewed explicit clips from 2012-2014 depicting alleged freak-offs, the elaborate drug-fueled parties that prosecutors alleged were absolutely central to Combs' criminal enterprise and served as the mechanism through which he allegedly exploited and abused countless victims. These videos were presented with privacy screens to shield the public from their disturbing content, a necessary precaution given the graphic nature of what was captured on those recordings. But reports from inside the courtroom described scenes of heavy breathing and graphic content that was so disturbing, so deeply unsettling, that one FBI agent actually winced on the stand while having to describe what he had witnessed on those recordings. Think about that for a moment. A trained federal agent, someone who has undoubtedly seen some of the worst that humanity has to offer, was visibly disturbed by what was captured in those videos. The case against Combs was monumental in scope, representing one of the most significant prosecutions of a celebrity in recent memory. He faced a 3-count indictment that included racketeering conspiracy, trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution under the Mann Act. Prosecutors alleged that Combs orchestrated a criminal enterprise involving coerced encounters where participants were allegedly transported across state lines for purposes. The charges covered alleged criminal activity spanning over a decade, painting a picture of a systematic pattern of abuse and exploitation that allegedly continued unimpeded for years. One witness who participated in the documentary offered this sobering assessment of the man they once knew.
I began to see the ugliness and the nature of him as a human being. That came from me seeing the only thing he cared about was himself.
We really tried to chronicle the ecosystem that he created.
One of the most damaging pieces of visual evidence wasn't even from the leaked documentary footage. It was something that had surfaced months earlier and had already seared itself into the public consciousness. The 2016 Cassie assault video, surveillance footage from a Los Angeles hotel that was leaked to CNN in May 2024, showed Combs kicking, dragging, and throwing objects at his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Cassie Ventura, as she tried desperately to flee from him. The footage was absolutely horrifying, capturing in stark, undeniable detail the violence that Ventura had alleged in her November 2023 lawsuit. Combs' lawyers mounted an aggressive defense against the leak itself, accusing federal agents of orchestrating the leak to CNN to taint the jury pool and create prejudicial publicity. However, prosecutors denied this accusation, stating they obtained the video from the hotel via subpoena and never possessed or leaked it to any media outlet. Combs issued a public apology after the footage surfaced, but Ventura's team called it pathetic, a hollow gesture that came far too late and only because he had been caught on camera. In July 2025, the jury delivered a mixed verdict that surprised many observers who had been following the case closely. Combs was convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in but acquitted on the more serious charges of racketeering conspiracy and trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. This partial acquittal meant Combs avoided the possibility of life imprisonment, but he still faced significant penalties for the related offenses that would fundamentally alter the course of his remaining years. On October 3, 2025, Judge Arun Subramanian sentenced Combs to 50 months, approximately 4 years and 2 months, in federal prison, along with a $500,000 fine and 5 years of supervised release. The sentence represented the maximum financial penalty allowable under the law, a clear signal from the judge about the severity with which he viewed Combs' conduct. As he left the courtroom, in a moment captured by courtroom artists and witnesses alike, Combs turned to his family, mouthed, "I'm sorry," and placed his hand over his heart, a gesture that some viewed as genuine remorse, and others saw as merely another performance from a man who had spent his entire career crafting his public image. But Combs' legal team was far from satisfied with the verdict or the sentence that resulted from it. Immediately after sentencing, his attorneys made their position abundantly clear.
We are planning to appeal. We think we have strong bases to appeal. The strongest basis is that the jury reached a verdict on coercion. It found there was not coercion.
On December 23, 2025, his attorneys filed an 84-page brief with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, seeking either immediate release from prison, complete reversal of the conviction, or vacating the sentence and remanding for resentencing before a different judge. The key argument in the appeal, and it's one that legal experts have described as both creative and potentially compelling, is that Judge Subramanian acted as a 13th juror by considering evidence from the acquitted racketeering and trafficking charges, which allegedly inflated the sentence to 3 times what was appropriate for the convictions alone. The filing describes the 50-month term as draconian, unlawful, and a perversion of justice, using language that makes clear the defense team's position that their client was essentially punished for crimes of which he was acquitted. Listen to how they framed their core argument.
I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no trafficking, there was no racketeering, everything was consensual, everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of offense.
Meanwhile, inside Fort Dix, Combs has been assigned to work as a chaplain's assistant in the chapel and enrolled in an intensive drug treatment program, despite his legal team's claims that he was completely sober before entering prison. The irony of the man who allegedly orchestrated drug-fueled parties, now participating in substance abuse treatment, has not been lost on observers. He spent his 56th birthday on November 4th, 2025 in the facility, reportedly served a typical prison meal, a stark contrast to the lavish celebrations he was once known for throwing, where champagne flowed freely and the guest lists read like a who's who of entertainment royalty. The documentary also featured one of the most emotional moments that anyone watching could possibly witness. A scene that has stayed with viewers long after the credits rolled. Danity Kane singer Aubrey O'Day reads an affidavit from a woman saying she walked in on O'Day being assaulted by Combs and another man in 2005. Her raw, unfiltered reaction captured the trauma that so many alleged victims have carried with them for years.
You realize the burden that puts on my soul for the past year, the weight of that man and his book. I will never get up from under it.
The director, Alexandria Stapleton, said that O'Day wrestled with whether to share this information on camera, and what viewers see in the film is her struggling to digest whether this actually happened to her or not, grappling in real time with memories that may have been suppressed or fragmented. The weight of that realization, caught on camera for the world to witness, is absolutely heartbreaking and speaks to the lasting trauma that alleged victims carry with them. The trial itself was plagued by leaks that complicated the proceedings significantly and raised serious questions about the integrity of the judicial process. In June 2025, sealed trial information, including juror details, leaked to tabloids like TMZ and the Daily Mail, prompting Judge Subramanian to reprimand both sides and launch a formal probe into the source of the leaks. Online content creators and court watchers were blamed for exposing witness identities, raising serious safety concerns for those brave enough to come forward and testify against one of the most powerful figures in entertainment. If you thought the Diddy case was explosive enough on its own, buckle up, because what comes next might completely reshape how we view the entire entertainment industry and the powerful figures who have dominated it for decades. The connections being drawn between this case and other high-profile scandals have created a web of allegations and associations that extends far beyond Sean Combs himself, reaching into corners of the industry that many believed were untouchable. In February 2026, the DOJ released over 3 million pages of Jeffrey Epstein investigation files, including FBI hotline tips from anonymous callers spanning years of investigation. One unverified tip alleged that Harvey Weinstein assaulted a woman at Epstein's Florida mansion, with Jay-Z reportedly present in the room. Now, it's absolutely critical to emphasize here, and I cannot stress this enough, that the document doesn't accuse Jay-Z of any wrongdoing or specify his involvement in any criminal activity. It's just a mention in an uncorroborated report, the kind of tip that the FBI receives regularly, and that may or may not have any basis in fact. And who was immediately ready to capitalize on this information, practically before the digital ink was dry on the document release? None other than 50 Cent himself, the same man who executive produced the Diddy documentary that has been dominating headlines. The rapper teased a documentary on Jay-Z similar to his Netflix series on Diddy, posting on Instagram with characteristic bluntness.
They got your man Jay in the Epstein files. I gotta do a doc on this.
The message was clear. 50 Cent sees an opportunity, and he's not about to let it pass him by. Here's how one commentator broke down what those files actually contain.
Basically, the gist of it is there was an FBI tip by someone that called in and said that, hey, from 1994 till 2007, there was Epstein involved in 1994 of doing bad things to that woman. And then in 1996, there was Harvey Weinstein with Jay-Z involved in Epstein's house.
The connections between Jay-Z and Diddy have taken on new significance in light of these revelations, with many observers pointing to the long history between the two hip-hop moguls. The two were both named in a 2024 civil lawsuit accusing them of drugging and a girl at a 2000 MTV Video Music Awards after-party. The allegations were explosive and sent shockwaves through the entertainment world when they first surfaced. Jay-Z called it a blackmail attempt, and sought dismissal, citing numerous inconsistencies in the plaintiff's claims. The suit was eventually withdrawn in 2025, but not before it had fueled speculation about what other secrets might be lurking beneath the surface of hip-hop's highest echelons. What makes this particularly interesting, and what has so many people talking, is that Jay-Z and Diddy have shared a high-profile relationship in the music industry for over 3 decades, marked by collaborations, mutual respect, and shared business ventures. Both men rose from humble beginnings in New York to become billionaires and cultural icons. However, since the allegations against Combs began to mount, Jay-Z's legal team has emphasized that the two were not close personal friends, but maintained a professional relationship, with Jay-Z reportedly showing zero loyalty and distancing himself from Combs' post-allegations in a manner that some have described as suspiciously swift. The internet has drawn its own conclusions about what all these connections might mean.
And because of all those ties, the internet basically connected the dots and have basically looked at Jay-Z in a different light. They view him as somebody that could potentially be a part of this stuff.
The documentary also re-examines other cold cases that have haunted the hip-hop community for decades, pulling at threads that many believed had been long since buried. The series raises questions about what Combs knew regarding the murders of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. in the 90s. Two of the most notorious unsolved cases in music history. Combs has denied all allegations and has never been charged in either death, but the documentary suggests that there may be more to the story than the public has been told. According to the filmmakers, new information made this the right time to revisit these tragic events.
You don't have Puff Daddy without Biggie Smalls. We had sources, more intel and information. It was the first time that you could really tell this story.
Meanwhile, Combs' family has shown unwavering support, despite the devastating circumstances that have befallen the patriarch of their family. His son, Christian King Combs, posted on Instagram for his father's birthday, writing, "Happy birthday to the greatest pops in the world. I love you. I wish you was here with us. I can't wait to see you. #FreePops." The hashtag has become a rallying cry for Combs supporters, though it has also drawn criticism from those who believe that justice has been served. In a more pointed show of defiance, King Combs publicly called out people who owed his father money and were allegedly hoping he'd remain imprisoned to avoid repayment, warning fake friends not to return once he's free. For the filmmakers behind the documentary, they say making it was bigger than just expose one man or settling old scores. It was about holding the entire industry accountable for the culture that allowed this alleged behavior to continue unchecked for so long. This wasn't just about Diddy, it was about all of us.
For the filmmakers, they say making the documentary was bigger than them.
If I didn't say anything, you could assume that all of hip-hop culture is comfortable with his actions.
It's bigger than just about Sean Combs or Cassie.
50 Cent's comments about why he never became close friends with Combs are particularly illuminating in retrospect, offering a glimpse into the dynamics that may have kept some people at arm's length, while others were drawn into Combs' orbit. He described feeling uncomfortable during invitations to hang out, sensing that Combs
was trying to figure out if I was heterosexual or into some other things.
That instinct to maintain distance may have spared him from deeper involvement in whatever was allegedly happening behind closed doors. The trial also featured testimony from 2 jurors who were willing to speak on camera for the documentary, offering unprecedented insight into the deliberation process. When asked whether they believed Combs was capable of violence, one juror's response was chilling in its simplicity, referencing the hotel surveillance footage. They said he absolutely can be a violent person when circumstances dictate. The appeal process continues with the U.S. government's response brief due by February 20th, 2026, and Combs' reply due by March 13th, 2026. Oral arguments have not yet been scheduled, but the expedited timeline suggests a hearing could occur in spring 2026. Legal experts remain divided on the appeal's chances of success, though the argument about the judge considering acquitted conduct during sentencing has generated significant interest in legal circles. The filmmakers offered this final thought about what this moment means for all of us as a society.
It also should be a reflection on us as an American public.
These leaked legal footage revelations have added an undeniably dark new layer to a case that was already one of the most shocking in entertainment history. The documentary has sparked broader discussions about accountability for powerful figures, the #MeToo reckoning finally reaching the hip-hop industry with full force, and the complicity, whether active or passive, that may have allowed this alleged behavior to continue for so long undetected and unchallenged. As new lawsuits continue to be filed, including one linking Combs to Tupac Shakur's murder, though unsubstantiated, and the appeal process moves forward through the federal courts, one thing remains crystal clear: this story is far from over. The footage has highlighted crucial questions about media ethics, government transparency, and victim privacy in high-profile cases that resonate far beyond this single prosecution. The entertainment industry is watching closely as the empire of one of its most powerful figures continues to crumble brick by brick. And if 50 Cent has his way, the revelations about who else might be implicated in similar behavior could be just getting started. The dark new layer that this leaked footage has added to the Diddy case may ultimately prove to be just the beginning of a much larger reckoning that is coming for the entire industry.